All right, greetings in the name of His and Her Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie the First, Empress Rosera Menin. Yes, family, one perfect balance. Yes, welcome to an extra special edition of Politically Incorrect, where we get it correct. And if we're not correct, feel free to inbox, message, call me, WhatsApp, whatever, and let me set the record straight. This is where it's all about. I definitely got a shout out to my people today. She's celebrating her Earth Day. She know who she is. I'll leave it at that. It's all good. It's all good. Life is meant for living, so live it and love it to the fullest. Tonight we're going to touch on some stuff. I was getting a lesson earlier. Oh man, I was being schooled earlier. Made me want to go and study economics. There's so much to this thing you would never suspect that all this stuff goes on. So I have a question tonight. We've been reading about it. I've been talking about it. We've been sharing it since last year, this same time we've been having this conversation. But guess what? Tonight the question is, what is the Auditor General Report? What exactly is it? And what does it mean? We're going to dive into some stuff tonight. So if you're tuning in tonight, be sure to go tell a friend and tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that Politically Incorrect, we in the building and we live. So for my brothers and sisters who celebrate, Shabbat Shalom. Today is your special day. Assalamu alaikum to the Islamic community. Without question, y'all already know Ashe Hotep to my conscious community. Namaste to those who on that faith. And without questions, Rastafari to the brethren and the sisters, and to everybody else, wherever you are in the world, love and light, love and light, love and light, loving it, loving it, loving it. Oh man, I feel so honored to have this guest on tonight. I've been watching her for a while. Even before it was even a Politically Incorrect, I was watching this sister and I feel inspired by all those who came before to speak truth to power. So here we are tonight. We have our special guest, KRYSTLE HOWELL, and I can't wait to hear her drop the science. In the meantime, tell a friend and tell a friend. Let me just drop this quick tune. I just thought this tune was fitting. I actually came across an old tune we used to play back in the days, but I might leave that one for last. I'm gonna play this one first, though, without question, man. So, yes, family. Junior Kelly. Name of the song is Corruption. Corruption. Imagine that, right? Oh man, Deborah, I see you. Give thanks for coming on tonight, Deborah. Deborah, daughter of God. Happy Sabbath to you too, Sted. I see you. Miss Lynn, I see you. Blessed love, family. Maria, what can I say? Maria Jade, I see you. Love and light, family. Tell a friend to tell a friend, man. Rasta talking it out. You wanna love, you want me sweet. Long on is the day when you say that's the day. Full of big speech, we can't go get to know. Physically, mentally, become prepared. Yes. Tell a friend and tell a friend, family. Be a corruption. I think I'm gonna send this to Mia. I'm gonna send the link to Mia. Well, not Mia, but her assistant. Yeah. Why not? Be a corruption, family. Be a corruption, family. Yes. That's why I in my push the crap and the gun them down the day. Don't appreciate the Rastaman vibration at all. I mean, I got to come and say this to people off and on. The works that they should be doing, we got to be doing. Junior Kelly family, corruption. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me go and drop it. Where did I do it? Oh, here it is. Let me just post the link for those who want to check the tune out fully and put that in the link real quick. So the comments down below. Junior Kelly. I was eating some mangoes earlier this week, and man, oh man, listen to me. Need more of these teachings? Listen, family, go tell a friend and tell a friend. There's plenty of teachings. You go pick any video on politically incorrect platform, whether it's my personal page, Emmanuel Marilia, or whether it's a YouTube page. Actually, there's more videos on my personal page, believe it or not. That's where we started with the old cell phone and two clothespins on top of the ironing board. You remember them days? We come a long way to this thing. Hey, look like we got a whole studio going on, but we give thanks and praise to the Most High. Blessed love. So tonight, before we get into our special guest, there's one or two things I want to bring to your attention, without question. For those who have not yet seen it, who don't have a copy, again, I'm going to post the link. It's a PDF file. I'm going to post the link to the Audit General Report in the comments. Go ahead, you can download it yourself. Take a look. The sister's going to walk us through part of it to some degree and explain certain things and bring clarity. The aim is to bring clarity because there's a lot of speculation. I've been hearing some videos, some little comments. I'm like, nah, I don't know you. That's some kind of tricky, but we're gonna get to it tonight, family. We're gonna get into it. The other thing I want to bring up right now is something that I saw in the paper. Um, today. Matter of fact, let me just go and share this real quick. I think we kind of segue from this into our guest. And it's funny because we spoke about this the last time we was on this platform. This is recently they had this broadcast, this what do you call it, press conference. And yeah, the minister, well, the prime servant was clear. She brought this guy to speak, and he made a declaration. This particular individual right here, as you can see on your screen, made a declaration. You remember what the declaration was? And I had to pause. As a matter of fact, I played the video up to this point, and I stopped it, and I said, "Go watch the rest of it because it's important that you get it within the context. Just don't take what I'm showing you within the context." And it's funny because Barbados Today put out in their newspaper the full message. Guess what it was? Like he said, let's go down here. $1 billion asset splash. They slash. I never say they slash it in terms of they cutting costs, because that's kind of an implication. The slash they're talking about is not about cutting costs. It's about money wiped out. They said government debt restructuring in 2018 wiped out more than $1 billion in the national insurance scheme. My thing is this though. Okay, so they lost $1 billion. All right, they revealed this on that same press conference. It was Wednesday. It could be wrong. It was Wednesday. What had me at this? When you say they lost it, like you catch a ZR van, you had your wallet in your pocket, you sit on that seat in the back where they got the rim, you put your leg up, and it kind of fell out. Well, you mean I kind of lost it, like it dropped somewhere and somebody picked it up? When you say loss, what exactly you mean by loss? Because you got me lost trying to figure out who you mean by loss. How you lose $1 billion? I don't know. Like they don't have a paper trail, a digital footprint, something. I mean, how do you lose $1 billion? Anyhow, perhaps your sister going to tell us tonight how it's possible to lose $1 billion. I don't know. Maybe she could shed some light. But anyhow, one of the things this sister did, which I found out recently, was create a petition. Now, I funny enough, it's a small island, but anybody send me this petition, I'd have been more than happy to sign it. But I want to share that and go ahead and pretty much say, as a matter of fact, no, I think I should bring her in and let her explain it in detail. You think so? I think so too. Let's do that. Sis, I guess you know what time it is. Let me just put this right here so I'm not operating the blind. This is crazy. Well, without further ado, family, go tell a friend and tell a friend. I'm going to introduce our special guest in a second. Politically Incorrect in the building, and joining us tonight for the very, very first time on this fabulous platform is none other than KRYSTLE HOWELL. Welcome to Politically Incorrect. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. I know this is probably a bit different to your usual interviews and a bit more structured and systematic. This right here is like we on your soul family conversation. Kind of a little more comfortable than some of the other conversations you would have had. This is we here having a powwow, as my grandmother would say. We having a powwow, yeah?
Yeah, man.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, the politically incorrect family, come on, family. Y'all do a little better than that, man. And show our family some love, man. Y'all know how we do, man. Y'all know how we do. Don't make me go ahead and play a commercial, man. Listen, sis, I want to really thank you because, like I said, I've been watching your videos for a while. I mean, I've shared them left, right, and center. I'm almost sure you have videos on my page posted from you because you have brought, what should I say, a light of hope to people in Barbados. And the reason I said it because prior to you starting to explain stuff, when you would hear a few people ranting and raving and making noise, no one sat down and said, "Let me explain this to you step by step." So I
Mhm.
really want to commend you, and I'm sure many other Barbadians feel the exact same way in regards to you and the work you've done. So just let me say thank you, thank you, thank you.
I consider it something that is an obligation to give back to persons. We complain
Mm,
about generations past that didn't do
mm,
this and didn't do that,
mm.
but then we don't see where we fall in making sure that other generations have it better than we did. And if we don't find that person who is doing better for the next generation, we should be that person. We can't
Wow.
complain about something and then be part of the problem.
Wow, if you can't find that person, be that person. Well, I love it already, man. Like the language, it goes to show how, the energy flows. Look, I tell people all the time, I love this island, I love my people. I
Yeah,
really love my people because
absolutely.
it's like sleeping giants and they everywhere, everywhere, But I told someone, and even the apostle mentioned it last night. Shout out to John and Numer, by the way. He'll be here next week. There's something about the Caribbean. Yes, there's something about the gem of the Caribbean, which in the gem of the Caribbean is actually not in the Caribbean. They say borrow to the Caribbean island. That's not the truth. It's an island, a sovereign island in the Atlantic. So, as people who live in the Atlantic, we have a different kind of energy. We're right next to the homeland. We're right next to the next land. We're dead smack in the middle. It is sacred ground, is what I tell people. And the people on this land are special people, and I see it every day. And they're real special for truth, I mean, in every aspect. You can't make this stuff up. Barbadians are uniquely different. And that's not to take away from the other islanders. That's to simply say that this coral rock that we live on, this crystal that we live on, produces a different mindset in the people across the land. And I'm not saying everybody's tuned in at the same time, but certainly people like yourself and others who have become more conscious and have risen to, like you said, you can't find that individual, can't find that person. You have become that person, the light in this time of darkness. So I definitely, definitely want to say for sure again, much, much respect and appreciation for the works you've been doing. Speaking of work, so I came across this thing. I want to share it real quick. Let me see if I can find it and pull it up. Maybe you could tell us a little more about this, actually, because I think this is a kind of a good way to start. Tell us about yourself a little bit, and how did you arrive at this point here? The petition. Here we go. Tell us exactly who is Crystal Howard and how you go as far as writing a petition towards the government about something like this. Tell us, bring us to this point here. Tell us.
Okay, so many years ago, while the other administration was in power, because a lot of persons seem to be under the impression that I only started speaking for this administration, but that is not the case.
Mm,
Would have spoken about the Auditor General's report, and it started because a friend came across it and she did not understand what the contents meant. And I had zero social media presence. I just decided I've seen other people doing videos to explain, maybe doing a video for her would help for her to be able to understand. And if other people are fine listening, that's fine. It's nothing that I want had any intention of keeping secret. I just did not expect that it would have gone to over 40,000 persons.
wow.
Um, Coming out of that, persons then started to have an understanding that a lot of things in Barbados were not going right.
Mm,
Things that, especially when it comes to numbers, I find people run away from numbers.
mm,
But numbers tell a story.
Mm,
And a big part for me as an auditor is to look at the numbers and understand what that story is telling me.
mm.
And if one and one is not adding up to two, somebody needs to be able to explain what is going on, because the thing I always loved about accounts, one plus one must equal two.
Right. Agreed.
If you, it's all about balance, and everybody, most people will understand how balance works. If something, if you're on a seesaw and something goes up, something must come down.
Mm,
If you take, you know have, and this person no doesn't, it always has something. That is what accounts is about.
mm.
If you spend X, have less cash, but
Right.
have
Right.
more of this.
Right.
So
Right.
when you're looking at this story and you're seeing less cash, but nothing to show for this less cash, something isn't adding up. So this is what the numbers are supposed to do. This is what auditors are supposed to
Mm,
say to the persons who are maintaining these records.
mm.
Something here is wrong. And I
Right.
know I've simplified it a great deal because there are lots of really complex issues within the financial numbers. But that is the gist of it. When you come to anything within the financials, they must balance back out. They must have an explanation. And the issue we've been having is you're seeing things that look blatantly wrong. And I've said this before, and I know people like to edit it out, but I will speak very plainly.
Oh well,
It
this is your
either
night.
it either means that someone made a mistake.
Hmm.
Mistakes can be unintentional.
Hmm.
We are human beings. Everybody in this world makes mistakes, and no one does a job perfectly.
Hmm.
So to think that no one in the government administration should ever make a mistake is disingenuous. We want to make sure that if you make this mistake, that it's corrected. The
Hmm.
other side of the coin is that this is purpose work, and somebody committed some type of fraud or misappropriation and all the other words that they like to use. But as our minister just said, it could just, he like to use the word thieving. And that is a reality because the numbers do not add up. It could either mean there are errors made that need to be corrected, and you can find an explanation for what happened, or somebody keeps saying, and that's
Simple.
why they're not adding up. That's pretty much it. So the idea behind it is that you want to investigate and clarify
Mm,
whether it's an error that can be corrected or somebody saying, and you need to get behind them and figure out how we can get back with money, because this isn't government's money. This is our money. And I want people to understand that. The same way that you safeguard your personal bank account
mhm,
or your money that you got on your mattress or wherever you have your money stored, this is also your money. When you look at your pay pack and you see taxes being taken out, when you look at your supermarket bill and you see VAT coming off, when you go and ship something, you see somebody put duties on it,
yep.
all of that is your money that is being potentially mismanaged. And
Mhm,
this is why the Auditor General's report is important, because this is, I am not coming out here to say I'm the first person that's done this. There are many persons in the finance community that have. But I guess the moat ain't as big as mine. This is the reality. They speak very politely, and honestly, sometimes people don't hear polite. That's the
right.
reality. They've
It's
been advocating for these things. They've been doing an excellent job, but it isn't until somebody fling up the skirt
all right.
that
All
people
right.
then start to say, "Oh, wait, something like it wrong."
See.
And over the years, I have had the pleasure of watching Barbadians become more and more educated about the
Mm,
Auditor General's report. That when they hear things, it's not just a matter that they're just taking it and accepting it. They're questioning it. I go
mm,
on social media, and every time something comes out, you're hearing people referring to the Auditor General's report. They're not
mhm,
allowing the wool to be pulled over their eyes. They're
mhm,
asking questions. But the reason I decided to do the petition, there's a side to the Auditor General's report that is glaringly absent, and that is a response from those who are responsible to clarify what I just said. Is this an error, or is someone doing something wrong? And until that investigation happens, we are left in the dark as to how much money our country really has, as to how much debt we are in, as to how many assets we own. And when you're hearing the numbers, you have what we call a fixed asset register, which basically is a list of everything we own in Barbados.
Mm.
And it's out by $1 billion. And you hear these numbers and you're like, why isn't somebody freaking out about this? Like hustling to try to figure out what is going on, because it is,
Wait. Hold on. Stick a pin again. Rewind that real quick.
yeah,
You say the assets that are on
the
the
list of assets
right,
and what we have in our statements. So they're
right,
saying we have X amount in our statements.
right.
And when you look at the list, it's
Mm.
out by $1 billion.
This is a different billion from the national insurance you're referring to.
It's a different billion from the
Man,
na-
no,
It's a different billion. It's a different
no.
billion. It's
Why
a
is it
different
always
billion.
$1 billion? It's like we gonna take
There
the
are
billion.
not a lot of $1 billion differences, but there are a lot of $1 million differences. And I don't want people to feel as though, because to start to diminish it, because $1 million differences is bad too.
But wait, hold on. As a little disclaimer here, what they say, the views of this individual are not necessarily the views of the. Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you all straight, sis. This is your night. This in the edit. This is live. Speak free, because the reality is, like I said, this in the politically correctness. This is politically incorrect, meaning we having a conversation. At the
Hmm.
end of the conversation, we just don't want to have a conversation for the sake of having a conversation.
Yeah.
Solutions. How do we resolve it? You're telling me that this is a separate $1 billion that's unaccounted for, not to mention the billion that they just admit that they slash. I don't even know what that really meant, but gone. Where does this go? Where does these $1 million and $1 billion missing, and you add them all up? What does it mean? Put that in English.
So the Auditor General came to the conclusion that you
Mhm.
cannot rely on the financial records that we have. They're that bad, they're that atrocious, they're that abysmal. No one looking at these records should look at them and make any decisions. So when we are taxed,
Mm.
they are taxing us on incorrect information. When we have to pay additional fees, when we have to get additional debt, we do not have an accurate idea as to whether this money is warranted, one,
Right.
and two, if it will be managed properly. Because again, remember I said we do not know the reasons for these discrepancies. We
Mm.
could go and do an investigation and find out that somebody recorded something incorrectly, they put it the wrong place. Oops, it really is here. It's not a problem. But I am concerned that they're not doing the investigation, because the other possibility exists
Mhm.
that this money was just taken. And until somebody does that investigation, we do not know. And I think if you are going to be taking money from the people of Barbados, you should be stewards of that money. You should make sure you take the utmost care to manage it properly, to safeguard it, because it was hard earned money. People have to work and sweat and toil to be able to earn that money, and they give it to you to do certain things, because we know our taxes are supposed to go to things like free health care
Mhm.
and the same NAS and all these
Mhm.
other things to help take care of especially people who are less vulnerable. Sorry, who are more vulnerable.
Right.
So we understand that is what our taxes are supposed to be used for. But if they're just going to be wasted, I have a problem with that. And I would hope other Barbadians have a problem with that, because then it's not going to the intended purpose.
You got me here thinking, wait. Somebody asked the question, and this applies to petroleum products as well, because how do they come up with the idea that we need more of something when there's no accountability or how little is something?
That is
How do you,
exactly the point. How are you coming to these
man, no,
conclusions? How
man, no.
are, and that is why people need to ask the questions and agitate and make sure these records are correct, because you're making decisions that impact my pocket, your pocket, things that you could have been doing with that money,
Mm.
that you had to say, well, I can't do this and I can't do that.
Right.
And then you have to hear that the money isn't properly accounted for. It's outrageous. It really is outrageous.
Well, what? Okay, well, okay. Worst case scenario, hypothetically speaking,
Hmm.
the numbers have been. Um, there's an accident. Someone, everybody's rushing. Different people involved. Someone made an error. Okay, numbers are out a bit.
Hmm.
I can accept that. Let's say
Yes.
couple dollars in terms of business and portfolios, maybe a
Yeah.
couple 100,000 here, couple 100,000
For an
there,
entity as large as government, yeah,
couple.
you
Yeah, I
could
could
see
expect
that
that.
as being reasonable.
But Crystal, between me and you, right? Let me hold on. Let me give me a minute. Let me get my mind right. To be out by millions, and in some cases hundreds of millions, and in some cases a
A billion.
whole billion, man, it's hard to say somebody can't count. I mean, they make jokes about saying click can't count. All right, fine, that was a little inside thing. How help me here, man. Help me here, man. How you okay, better yet, let me take a different approach. Somebody asked an
Mhm.
intelligent question. Someone asked a question just now. Look, right, I did see it. Um, so how do you do an investigation? Because it's kind of difficult to ask the people who work in these offices that might be miscounting. I think that's the most politically correct term to use. Miscounting the numbers to recount them correctly. How do you go about an investigation by asking the wolf to count the sheep? Sorry, the wolf to count the chickens in the hen house.
That is under the assumption that they stole it. So if the person made an error, because we're going off of the assumption
They
innocent
miscount.
until proven guilty.
That's why I said they miscount. They
If the
miscount.
person made an error, and the reality
Right.
is government is a large entity,
Right.
systems don't always talk to each other. Sometimes there's a manual process. It may take some time for some person to realize, oh shoot, this was recorded here when it should have
Right.
been recorded there,
Right.
whatever the case may be.
Right.
And the skill set of the persons, sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
ones who are able to do the work, as we know, they're always the ones being called upon. So they have competing priorities.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to do their day to day duties, which is what people always complain about. They're trying to do what they have to do every day to make sure things work. And then they have to stop what they're doing to investigate something.
Mm-hmm.
And some people put it on the back burner. The pressure now is to make sure that people do not put it on the back burner. It's important for these things to be
Mm-hmm.
resolved
Mm-hmm.
and resolved timely. Now, if they cannot investigate and give an adequate explanation,
Mm-hmm.
what should happen next after the Auditor General? Because when you decide, when you find the evidence and say, here it is, this explains it, the Auditor General should be able to investigate it and say, yes, this is acceptable, or
Mm-hmm.
no, it is not. If you come to a point where the differences are still so massive, it needs to go to the Public Accounts Committee. And
Is this the protocol? How this is supposed to be done?
this is how it's supposed to be done in this.
Wow, that's kind of
So,
intricate, though.
yeah,
You can't really make a mistake if these protocols are in place. What you explained, and that's clear. It's kind of difficult to not spot something to backtrack to correct it.
the thing is, and I'll be fair, entities all over the world, they have differences sometimes in their accounts that require
Mm.
investigation. So it's not to
Right.
say that
And
government
that's
is
fair.
the only
No.
entity that has ever made mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
has ever misplaced something, has ever recorded something incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I am always surprised that they always go on the defensive,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that no one expects an entity to be
It could be a
perfect.
it could be a simple mistake.
Exactly. And we are giving you the benefit of the doubt that
Mm-hmm.
it
True.
is a
True.
mistake and the
Fair enough.
opportunity to show that it is a mistake. Now, when you can't do that, that's when things get a bit more serious.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Wow.
I would hate if I came to your house, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, you have certain protocol you're supposed to follow in the studio. You expect that you're supposed to wipe down your microphones if you have guests there because you don't want to,
Right.
spread
Right.
germs, or you're supposed to keep people a certain distance. If I came there and I saw your chairs right up on each other, you get the benefit of the doubt that you didn't study in it, so, or this person
Right,
was your family that you always with anyhow, so that's why the chairs were close. You give persons a chance to explain themselves. I'm
right.
not going to come in there saying, you trying to kill somebody by making these mistakes and all these kind of things. We're not assuming that
Wonderful,
persons are
wonderful,
guilty. You
wonderful,
give
wonderful.
people the opportunity to explain themselves. When it gets to the point where the person is refusing either to explain themselves, or they've been told what they should do and they keep doing the wrong thing,
Mm,
the Public Accounts Committee is supposed to step in. Now, the issue I have had with the Public Accounts Committee is
mm.
usually chaired by the leader of the opposition. And in to be brutally honest, that's never worked. We've never had an Auditor General's
Really?
report where the last two major issues that were brought to the Public Accounts Committee
Mm-hmm.
under the DLP administration would have been the Water Authority issue. And I don't know if persons remember, but certain persons were summoned and they got their lawyers and said nobody can make them come. Then we
Wow,
have now the
wow.
transport board issue, which
Wait,
was
wait, wait, wait,
another.
wait, wait. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Go back there a little bit. Hold on. You wait over that. You telling me that folks were called to a hearing to clarify some
Not
mis-
any and every folks, the ministers over that area that had responsibility for that area. I think, sorry, not water, it was housing.
Mhm.
They got their lawyers and decided they're not going to show up.
So you telling me you got an issue financially in your books because of miscounting,
That's what we'll call it
miscounting.
for now. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that. That's politically
yeah,
correct. We can accept that. Both
yeah,
sides of the coin.
yeah,
And rather than come to clarify it with an audit to, oh yeah, by the way, I forget to add this receipt in. Here it is. That will clear up things right now. It fell behind the filing cabinet. Because
yeah,
sometimes things
yeah.
drop down.
Things could drop down.
You go get a lawyer. You go get a lawyer to come and tell the people my client isn't coming. He's exercising his right to remain silent.
Pretty much.
What that sound like to you?
Exactly.
That sound like law and order. But anyhow, continue. Continue.
So then the next issue that the Public Accounts Committee was dealing with is the Transport Board. And for anyone who was listening to those hearings, the persons that were summoned had very, in my opinion, very weak explanations for why things were the way they were. And it was, in my professional opinion, heads needed to roll. Heads needed to roll because either you are grossly incompetent
One,
or you were participating in the misappropriation of government funds. That is my
call,
opinion, and I stand by that.
call Alex
And
Mitchell. You
and
right.
this is why I have been telling persons you also have to be prepared when
Mm.
persons, especially in the leadership positions, allow things like this to happen. You're this incompetent. You should not be allowed to continue to be in charge of these kind of responsibilities. That is something we have to be prepared for. But then I hear a lot of, oh, Kadir, you can't send home this person, and but they gotta feed the family and this and that. I gotta feed my family too. You don't gotta
Man,
feed your
it sounds
family.
like they're feeding more than their family. I'm just saying. I mean, this kind of miscounting is a bit difficult to
But
mislook.
but this is what happens when we have a culture, a Kadir culture, I call it. Like when persons have been
Canadian
found
culture.
out that
Mm,
they haven't done what they're supposed to do, especially when it is some person on our level, you feel bad. I ain't telling you that you don't feel bad,
mm.
but people have to be willing to accept responsibility for their actions.
Choices
We
and
cannot
consequences.
encourage a society where
Mm.
every time someone does something wrong, especially when it's blatantly wrong, I'm not saying you can't feel sorry for the person, but that person has to at least want to make amends for the things that they've done. And we should encourage that, making amends, making things right,
Right.
restoring what you have damaged. And if the person isn't willing to do that, I am not exactly one for the Kadir culture.
Yeah, I second that on that, man. I got an issue. You just said something that kind of was blatant, and not that I'm surprised you would say that. I think you're saying it with authority, still being mindful, because if it is that you again, not everybody like numbers. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even like math. let alone trying to read numbers
I,
and a graph and a report. That's another. That's like 60 plus A level.
I tell people, I tell people all the time the math that I deal with in my job is like
Right.
primary school level math. If you can add, you can. I use a calculator all the time. If you ask me to add 17 plus 26, I want my calculator. I can't believe I used to do those things in my head when I was small.
I
But
like it.
the math is not difficult, but it is understanding what the numbers are telling you.
There you go. There
That
you
is
go.
what it is about. So people come to me all the time confused, and they tell persons, you're feeling confused because you want there to be a good explanation. The reality is the explanations are not good, and we have to accept that, and
Right.
also accept that it could be someone that looks just like us that did this. And when that leads to a person and that person is identified, we need to be able to ask that person. We're not here for blood, because a
Accountability.
lot of people ready to
Yeah,
call
nah,
for blood.
nah, and I agree. I
They
agree
got
on
that
that.
camp that just want call for blood. I want
No,
for
accountability.
restitution
Of course,
to be
of
made.
course, of course, of course. You know what? I second that, and I'm glad you even reiterated that because the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, like the brother, like, well, I don't know who that guy is that was speaking at the Wednesday meeting. When he
Hmm.
said that part about, yeah, we lost, he didn't say slash, he said lost, but they
Hmm.
printed slash, they didn't print lost. But anyhow, the point I want to make is that that kind of hit me though. It's like, wait a minute, how you mean you? So you all invested people's money that they work for. The government used their money to invest in a scam scheme, whatever it is that they put together. Anyhow, that one slipped, Christy. That one slipped. That one slipped. They slipped, but they put it. They it's like you rigged the whole thing though, because how could you not know this wasn't going to work when you knew this wasn't going to work? The funny thing is this: bonds, which is the funny thing, government bonds
Hmm.
basically is imaginary money. It is not real. Government bonds is imaginary money. They promise you, well, look, I'm gonna print this thing called a bond. I'm gonna let you hold on to it, but it only has value 20 years from now. So it's a promissory note. It doesn't have
Yes.
any value now, but I promise you, in 20 years, it gonna worth more. I promise. Just let me have yours now, though.
So
And so, how does
he-
that work?
so here's how it works. 'Cause I have, when I was younger, I've had government bonds, and if you realize that you can't wait, let's say it's a 5-year bond, and you
Right.
can't wait, you was able to take it to a bank and be able to give them the certificate, and they would give you what it's worth at that point in time. So the idea behind the bond
Mm-hmm.
is the government needs to raise money
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do projects. And I want to explain a bit with even the NIS. The idea behind it is this is something that was developed to help take care, and let me put the intention, because you can
Take care.
have, I was giving some even Adrian an example earlier,
Mm-hmm.
where you have a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
You can use this hammer to break into someone's house, or you can use it to build a house. The tool is not necessarily the evil thing. It
It's the
is how
application.
people correct. So the intention for
Oh boy.
NAS, if it was used as intended, was for Barbadians to be able to, because if you have every Barbadian contributing to this, then when people get sick or when people retire and stuff like that, they have something that helps to take care of them. So the intention behind it is all Barbadians basically taking care of those who are most vulnerable, those who get sick,
Mm-hmm.
unemployed, or retire. The problem is when that was first developed, we had a population that had a certain number of persons,
Mm-hmm.
and they envisioned that we would keep our population would keep growing. So you will have more and more people who could contribute to this,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
outweighing each other. The problem is we've had less and less people giving birth. So the population is smaller and smaller, which
Mm-hmm.
means you have fewer people to take care of all of these things. So the
Right.
burden on these persons got larger and larger. Now, the issue is, in my opinion, this is something that you could have see the trend happening for a while, and you
Mm-hmm.
needed to be able to pivot and adjust.
Mm-hmm.
You notice that less and less people are being born,
Right.
and
One.
even though to the
One.
one, and even though to the people are being born, how many are staying in Barbados because brain drain is real,
Mm-hmm.
and we have an increasingly aging population. People are living longer.
Right.
So before, where somebody hits the age of 65 and they maybe live 10 years, people are now living much longer than 10 years, which means they're taking from the fund for a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, put my disclaimer, because I am not an actuary and I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
professional in this area. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot more intricacies as well to this that will complicate it. But
Mm-hmm.
at a very basic level, that is basically what it is. When you get that money now from people's salaries and from people making contributions,
Mm-hmm.
they are supposed to invest it in things that would create more money, because you can't just depend on people contributing and giving birth to create more people to contribute.
Right.
You're
Right.
supposed to invest it in things that will help bring you back money. You have a business. If you put $100 into that business, you expect it to give you $20 in profit or $30 in profit, so that your business isn't just putting in $100 and taking out $100.
Right.
That is what the investment aspect of the scheme is supposed to be. It takes the money, invests it in things that bring more money to help lessen the burden on the persons who are supposed to contribute,
Mm-hmm.
if it does well.
If it works according to the plan.
Unfortunately, one of the, well, I will speak to the Four Seasons project, because NAS money was
Oh
used.
man, don't even do it, man. Don't even do it. You
So
know, oh man, let me hear this, man.
so the, as we know, the Four Seasons didn't, that was a flop. So that's the money burn. And what makes the problem even worse, in this year's Auditor General's report,
Mm-hmm.
the property was sold, or I should say it was, the word used was convened. Basically, it was given to someone else
Mm-hmm.
whose name was not mentioned, and that person has not paid any. There's no evidence. Let me use the words that are in the report. There is no evidence of payment being made for that
Wait,
property transferred.
you mean the part where they roundabout, or you mean the whole property? The entrance, or you mean the
The
whole
Four
property?
Seasons property.
You mean the part down with the beach, or you mean the whole property? Which part of the property you refer to? Because Four Seasons stretch from the hill there, right there, from the back of the Midas place, all the way down to Lazaretta.
You
So you
might
said,
want, you might want a land surveyor to tell you
you know
exactly
what,
what encompasses the Four
you
Seasons property.
I don't need a line severe. I got Alex Mitchell right here on the line. I can tell you right now, look, sis, that is crazy what you just said,
Yeah.
though.
Yep. So
But
this
wait a
is why
minute.
I say the Auditor General's report is so
Wait, hold on, hold on,
important,
hold on, hold on, hold on,
because
hold on. I can't let you, Chris. Look, this is right gonna push the clutch. Yeah, you gonna need a little water. I can push the clutch. With a transaction like that, and I'm
hmm
going to be as Emmanuel as possible. I don't know Frank. With a transaction like that, that is clearly outlined, that clearly speaks to some nefarious dealings, without question. It's a bit difficult for the people of Barbados, especially given the deafening silence that we are hearing regarding this whole question about Auditor General, to think and assume and make assumptions and still want to give the benefit of the doubt that something else nefarious isn't really going on.
This is why I think they need to answer urgently, because people are human beings and they are going to start to think there is something more in Immortal than the pestle.
That's right.
That's just reality.
And I
And
going through the same thing.
as a professional, and I will still maintain my professional hat, I still do, as an auditor, we always give the benefit of the doubt.
Mhm,
We need to hear the explanations.
mhm.
The explanations will then guide what other conclusions we will make, because it can also be gross incompetence as well.
Either way,
Again,
it's bad
the
news. Either way,
conclusion.
it's bad news.
Either way is bad news. Either way is bad news. But it's currently being dealt with in court, which is why a lot of details cannot be shared on it. That said, I don't have a lot of faith in the court system dealing with that very quickly either. Anyhow, which is
Okay.
another problem.
Well, let me go a little step further, Crystal, if you don't mind being crystal clear here, because I want to touch on you on a different level in a minute,
Yeah.
without giving all this bad, well, clarity. We
Mm-hmm.
shedding clarity.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say it's good or bad news. It is just information. What we do with it
Yes.
is what now makes a difference, and I
Yeah.
like that. With all due respect again to your profession and the professional people that's under your CPA, as the term they use and whatnot, if I said it
Yeah.
correctly.
Yes, you did.
Um,
You're one of the few persons who do. Who do.
oh yeah, well I'm a man of the word. But anyhow, let me say this. Is it possible to create an organization that's independent, specifically for the sole purpose of investigating independently these different um, miscalculations? Is it possible then to have that organization then be recognized and accepted by the wider Barbados society who have authorized this group and have a petition like the one you spoke about? As a matter of fact, you could tell us a little bit about it in a second. Is it possible to have that up somehow where we get it right? There you go. Have that up somewhere where we can have persons come on board and say, look, hey, we authorize this group right here and we have given them the authority because your rule we are governed by consent. If the majority of Barbados consent to have this thing looked at, is it possible that yourself and some of your peers who have that moral and integrity compass thing still accurate to go into this situation and really look at this? Because failing to do an independent review, do you feel we can accurately and honestly get the truth?
So here's the thing: there are bodies like that already exist. So the Auditor
But
General is an independent body, and he
really,
has, yes, he may be working under government, but he is separate. So I myself, I am an internal auditor as well. I work for Sagicor, and the way how it is structured,
mm,
we do not answer to management.
mm,
We answer to the board. So the management is who runs the company,
mm,
and we would do audits that would investigate what they do, and our reports go to the board, and then the board holds management accountable.
mm,
The auditor general is structured in a similar way. Yes, he is employed by government, but he
mm,
is not dictated to by government. So his office is separated from the functions of government, one. However, the problem is the public accounts committee,
mm,
it is independent in the sense that the chair is supposed to be the leader of the opposition, but the reality is they in again, I do not believe they have the background to adequately investigate and bring a lot of these issues to a conclusion, and this is evidenced by the fact that it's never happened for all the decades and decades of reports that have been produced. So in my petition, I've asked for this committee to be restructured to be more effective, to
mm,
use professional independent bodies, because there are external firms that are even more independent than an internal auditor. They are separate in every single way. They're separate companies. They have persons who are qualified to do these investigations. Of course, though, you do have to hire them. So some of these firms actually already do investigations and audits into certain entities. So, for example, the QEH is one of those entities that the external audit firms conduct audits for. There's Transport Board for sure, and there are a number of other government entities that have external auditors conducting investigations. Their reports are not that much better. In terms of having the investigation, though, that again will have to be that is what I'm pushing for someone with those kind of qualifications to be
mm,
the ones to do that final investigation that you're talking about, that independent investigation. If between the government, the current administration, and the auditor, they cannot come to an agreement that this issue can be adequately resolved, I strongly believe someone independent should be looking at this. And the problem is, right now, we don't even have the leader of the opposition to chair this committee. That wasn't even functioning that well in the first place because there's no leader of the opposition.
Serious.
So the Auditor General wanted an independent senator to chair this. And I do know the current administration is not comfortable. Well, certain persons within it, let me not speak for everyone, are not
Mhm.
comfortable with that because they believe they should be able to investigate themselves. I do not recommend them as investigating themselves. However, they do accept, some of them, that someone independent should conduct these investigations. The matter and the question is, can we agree on who? I would love for it to be an external qualified person. They're persons who are trained in investigating issues and cases exactly like this. We need someone with that skill set that is not under the administration to be able to conduct these investigations so people can feel comfortable when they hear it was a mistake and we've been able to reconcile it, that they can trust that, or that some person needs to be held accountable, they can trust that as well too.
Someone is saying here we need the FBI in Barbados. Forget all that talk you talking. We need the FBI here to look at these books and see what
FBI
we're
can't
doing.
invoke Barbados unless it got something to do with the US. So unless somebody did something that connects to the US, them ain't checking for we.
Well, I think we need to form. You know what? I'm glad you said that. I'm glad. I think the brother asked a question here real quick, and I thought it was
If they have
relevant.
the Integrity Act, that,
Yeah,
as they keep trying to remind persons, failed in the Senate.
you don't
But
know
as I
why. You
remind
don't know
them as
why.
well, it failed, and the reasons why it failed need to be investigated and corrected, and it resubmitted. If we want to say we're punching above our weight and that we care about integrity and good governance and accountability and all these nice words,
Right.
we are one of the few countries in the world that doesn't have this thing in place. Like,
I
there are
wonder
countries
why.
that even if they're pretending they have it and they're pretending that they're doing something about it,
Okay.
we not even
Pretending.
we just don't have it.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Miss. I like numbers, basic primary school math. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 2.
Yeah,
So year after year after year after year, and this has been
hmm
consistent for at least a decade, to my knowledge. The only difference is that has the amount has increased consistently over the time.
because it's a compounded problem, and
One,
this is why I get upset about people who try to point fingers at anyone.
right,
Everybody contributed to this. There's no one.
and still contributing.
And this is why I think we need to stop with the party politics and the, oh, this body thief less than this body. Like, it's all thieving and it all adding up and it's all getting worse, and we here talking about party.
I guess the best part. So one and two, we have no integrity act. Although everybody been talking about it from since Aladdin. What is it? Aladdin was a ladder, or
We
whatever the case is.
technically do have,
Wait,
but it's
hold
from
on. Time out, time out,
1929.
time out, time out. We have an integrity bit. We have. Wait, hold on.
From
And what does that?
1929.
What does that act say?
It's 9 pages long, including the two blank pages and the cover page. And the most some person would hold in terms of a fine is about $2,000 or 2 years in prison. It's 1929. That was a lot of
So,
money in
so they
1929.
so they take $1 million and they got to pay a $2,000 fine and those 6 months or something. So
Because the 2 years is the max. So they might not even get prison time.
yeah,
So
see the
we're
devil.
right now relying on 1929 legislation.
Look, they were so quick to give you a COVID bill and all sorts of foolishness about the place, quick, fast like that, and nobody had a word to say. Why they can't? I mean, let me go a little further though. Let me stop playing politics. That's the truth. Because the worst part of this is that the people of Barbados.
Hmm
I don't even want to say citizens because the truth is, and this is why I suppose I could just go into your thing really quick here because I don't want to miss that. Citizens of Barbados, right? The truth and the fact is, if you are a citizen, you are a slave, and therefore You are not entitled to even question the affairs of the plantocracy or the plantation. You're not, because reality factors, they take the assets, which is the people, the citizens, and they use it to generate their wealth that they share amongst themselves. They've consistently done this in different ways. And the worst part is that they insult your integrity and your intelligence by coming in these fancy things and speaking double speak. Yes, we realize this and we want to look into this, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do this, we do this. And somehow they rock people to sleep and it's like, oh, okay, well they said they want to look into it again. And then a whole year go by and nothing. Then you get another report saying something else. You done forgot the first five reports that you first questioned, and then here we are as the people again, asking questions about things that are more relevant than ever, and another thing, more public now than ever. How do we reach a point where we say enough is enough and go even beyond a petition, asking them to correct what may appear to be consistently be perhaps internal sabotage? We could call it, sister said, you could give it a bunch of different names, accident, fraud, whatever. The reality, the fact is, while this is going on, Barbadians are suffering, homes are being destroyed, children being marginalized, neglected, the elderly being mistreated and abused. The infrastructure, the nation is suffering fractures that perhaps might be invisible today that will manifest in a few years. And the sad part about it is there's no revenue to resolve it. Because according to what these folks said a couple of days ago, 12 years, it ain't no money. We ain't in a
Yeah.
crisis yet, but we're trying to
But in
avoid it.
12 years.
But my thing is this though, Crystal, we've been in a crisis. The reason why this is being spoken about now is because the reality is they don't have any more to take. So to justify the things they want to do next, to justify what they want to do next, they had to let it get to this point where it is almost like the point of no return. We have to do this or else. That's what it boils down to. How do we reconcile this at this point? How do we tell our children, well, look, yeah, you go in school come September. For what? Why? For what? You might as well stay home and look for a job because you go into school, you get your degree, you do all this stuff, you get a job, you pay into the scheme, and the reality is when you're not even into the scheme fully, there's nothing for you. And despite what they're telling you about they're going to change this or change, the government has never resolved any financial woes in the history of government. They've always borrowed and taxed their way into more debt. They don't tax their way out of debt. They have never gotten out of debt. They only tax and borrow their way deeper into debt to pass on to the next generation and the generation after that, so that they can have the comfort that they have now. As far as misappropriation of funds and mismanagement, whatever else, we're still, like you said, we can play we don't know, but the reality is, in the back of a lot of our minds, we really do know. But I respect you being a professional and always putting that up front. Full respect and honors for that. Me, I ain't like that though. I know these cats say on a different level. It's obvious. It's so blatantly obvious, right? That up to now, you ain't hear a word. Because it's like what to say,
That
what
is,
do.
and that is to their discredit, because if they don't want people to think these things, they need to come out and say what the reality is. And I cannot blame anyone for coming to any of the conclusions they come to,
That's right.
because
That's
you
right.
did not say, you did not come and speak to the people. You've had conferences on everything from COVID to crime to
Parties and quote the parties.
everything. But on something where we have millions and billions of dollars missing, there
National
is
crisis, which is a
it,
national
this is
crisis.
a I have said it is a financial crisis.
I agree.
I call it a financial crisis. I am not trying to blow it out of proportion. When you have a $1 billion economy and you're missing $1 billion,
Oh man.
that's a financial crisis.
They have no, that's not true. They said they have a negative petty cash. Come on, man. Come on, man. Chris, where you going?
Honestly, right? Because
Where
people
you
have
going?
come to me trying to get me to explain that, and they tell them when you figure it out, you let me know. I have never in my life heard of
We have a
how you got
negative.
negative cash.
That's easy. The money
Oh,
that was in the cash plan actually we gotta go and get it. But the receipt in the pan, we just didn't get
and
the money yet.
14 ministries gonna look you in the face and say they got negative cash and feel
Listen,
that that's okay.
no, listen, hold up. We have the cash. It's just not stored in the pan. We have the cash. It just that's a confession, you know.
I was
Listen,
gonna laugh
anybody
if you
who said
don't
they have
laugh.
no
Honestly, man, if you don't laugh, you will cry.
Crystal, any ministry that say they have a negative cash plan, I'm telling you, that's a confession. What they're saying, they're speaking double speak. What they really mean is, I got the money, but I just keeping it home for safety. It
Uh-huh.
didn't in the book, but I since they can tell you they do have a negative. Listen, hold on, man. It's just a perspective thing. If they have the unmitigated goal to
I
tell
know,
you
right?
that they have a negative cash, in their petty tree or whatever they call it. What that is a confession. It's called double speak. It's called the unspoken word. Ask my guru. It is the unspoken word. What they're really saying is that I got it. Because obviously they know they got it. There's a negative. They will God know where it is. I got the money. It's just that I don't want to save it there because here to thieving. So why do hold on, Chris? Wait, hold on, Chris. So why so why did was I came home, right?
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
got it. So when them
Uh,
need gas money, why is do is I go home.
uh.
How much you need? 100. Hold on, don't look. Stop people. They just go and bring it and then put it there in the morning. Check the check the petty cash, and see what's going on. And see you find, oh yeah, you find $100 bill. We use that today. That's basically what's going on, Crystal. So that's what that mean, man. That's all that mean. You know what I mean? They got it stashed somewhere. It's safe. I told you I was going to enjoy this. Different. Listen, on a serious note, though, I be on. I ain't gonna unmute your mic. I don't know if you're talking to your cats or not. Tell us about this. I mean, matter of fact, hold on, people. Before I go any further, let me say this. This young lady is extremely talented, and I look for omens in my experiences with people, and I've been trying almost for like 2 weeks to get a hold of this young lady here, to even have one conversation, and couldn't have it. And when we did have a conversation, and I did come to see something. Wait, that is safe. You got interest. That is safe. Wait, hold on. You got the negative cash. Anyhow, check this out, family. I'm gonna put up some images really quick. I'm gonna let her explain it herself. I won't even say anything about it. I just think it's important that we do this. And the reason why I'm incorporating this into this message is because I think it is really relevant, very relevant, especially what I'm gonna share afterwards. Okay, so take a look at. Should I start? Let me see. Tell you what. Hold on a second. Let me start with first one first. This one, then this one, and this one. Okay, I just had to cue it up. Okay, here we go. Here we go. This ought to be interesting. Um, Let me go put this up real quick. And I want you to tell us about this. Wait a minute. I got a little problem here. I got a little problem here. I got to close that down. Can't let that. Somebody sent me a message that it was on the screen. I couldn't let that one come up. Boy, that's what get you in trouble and stuff. It's all this stuff to get to. Hey, come here. So tell us about this. What exactly are we looking at here? And by the way, family, her name is Crystal Howell. You can check her on Facebook. She has a number of other pages, but I'm featuring this image from her personal page, and you can check her out again. Like I said, let me get a full screen here. Here you go. Yeah, tell us exactly what we're looking at here. Explain this to the people.
So this is a piece that I created as part of a series. And what I wanted to showcase was kind of like almost like the Sankofa principle, where you looking back at your history
Mm-hmm.
but using it to learn and
Mm-hmm.
move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular one is speaking to our West Indian heritage and the crop over culture, where to me, and this is not me knocking crop over in any shape, form, or fashion. I love it. It's my favorite time of the year, even above Christmas and everything else that most people love to celebrate. I love crop over and independence. But I think that more and more we are forgetting what crop over really means, what it signifies, and all of the important aspects of it. Because as
Mhm.
much as I love fun, I also think that we need to remember where we come from,
That's
the
right.
things that our ancestors have done for us,
Mhm.
and what crop. If you ask the average person what crop over means, they might not even be able to tell you.
You crop over. The crop over.
And the meaning is actually in the name. What the history of it means. So being able to understand that, especially with Emancipation Day falling on the same day as Kadooment this year, and having bare minimum um acknowledgement of that, it is hard. And to me, it diminishes the value of crop over when we only take the fun aspect of it, the revelry,
Mhm.
and ignore the history of it. Which
Mhm.
is why I have it more depicted as the black and white, the historical aspect, and the color is kind of distorted and
Mhm.
distraught,
Mhm.
because that part that should be the revelry and enjoyment, we've forgotten why we are reveling and why we're celebrating. And I think
Right.
that is the sad part of it. We need to be able to remember these things, not to bring us down and tear us down or anything like that.
Mhm.
But the reason why understanding and remembering our history is so important is so that we don't make the same mistakes when we're going forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. I let me tell you something. When I was scrolling through your page looking for an image to put up and stuff and make it happen, I came across this and man, this resonates to me as an individual who seek and focus on sovereignty and indigenousness because the feathers, the feathers go back to what we would call our initial culture and what they represent for us as a people. We don't quite get it. We think these people that we see on TV, the Lone Ranger and Tonto, as the real Indians. That's not true. We look at this
Hmm.
thing, the Arawaks, the Caribs and stuff. We don't quite grasp that it's our story they're talking about. But because we were never taught this, we see it as only during slavery, as if we were not doing
That's
anything
where our
wrong.
history starts,
You see,
because there's nothing before.
they don't ever
We
tell you.
just we just we just appear as slaves, and that's it.
Poof. But this is the first one, family, when I came across this. Then as she explained, and I can tell you the truth. I said, yo, so sis, you paint and stuff? Yeah, she said, yeah, I do my little thing and thing. So I tell myself, oh, she was doing one little painting. She just, done a little something, something, something. That's what I'm telling myself. I said, well, guess what? I like this piece though, so hear me now. How much is it? I playing big, a couple $100, I can see. She might not charge a lot. I don't know. I go snatch this up though. She said, "Well, wait a minute. I don't have the price list. Give me a minute." I said, "Price list? Give me a minute. Baby. Hold on a minute. Wait a minute." She wanted the art gallery. My girl come and tell me the price. It's part of a collection. I said, "Well, hold on a minute. Let me show you the collection first before I tell you the price." I think this is completely undervalued. Personally speaking, let me show you part two. Give me a second. Let me show you all part two. You can't make this stuff up, family. That's why I love Barbados. I love the people of this nation. Love my people, family. This is part two. Please tell us what is the message behind this second part of the Trinity. Give us that story.
So we do know of our African heritage, our culture, and how slavery would have impacted us. I don't think people really understand how traumatic slavery really was for Black persons, and the idea of just getting over it, the damage that we carry because we never really fixed it, we never really got an opportunity to resolve a lot of the atrocious things that have been done to us. Again, this is the history we have, and it has distorted the beautiful
Mhm.
parts of who we are. It does, again, is not to bring you down, is not to make you feel as though everything in our history is painful and not worthy of speaking of. But if we don't understand where we come from, we would not understand how to move forward. And I
Clearly.
really wanted to celebrate the African heritage to make it distinctive, because this is how people recognize it more
Mm-hmm.
so than anything else. The African woman, the headdress, the
Address exactly,
earrings,
exactly.
and the abused body that she has, but she still carries with her a focus and a pride and a resolve to be able to move forward.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Listen, I mean, you know what? Let me just add this here because what we do as a society sometimes is that we tend to evaluate people where they used to be as
Yeah.
opposed to where they are. And I think that is one of the most damaging things we could ever do as a society. Because I always tell people when they come on here, man, how come you do this? How come you do that? And they don't let me do this and don't let me do that. And I be thinking, you know, had you met me when I was 23 years old, I was standing in front of the judge in the court in Brooklyn Supreme Court. Brooklyn Supreme Court. Not no man, not no Jew. Brooklyn Supreme Court at 23 when I was sentenced to 33 years in prison. If you evaluate me then based on the charges and how I was living my life, you probably would want to talk to me. You have a lot to say about me. And I think I always tell people any man or any woman who can take their adversities and different things they've gone through and change and become better. I tell somebody, man, it's easy to judge them people. They say, I we judge them. But you should always admire anybody who overcome and become greater and better than what they used to be. And I think if
Yeah.
we all strive to become greater than, we be less judgmental and look for the good in people rather than always trying to point out, what are some of these wrongs. And for me, as Rastafari, I don't bring no judgment, I bring light. But if my light causes you to be uncomfortable, then it's not me, it's you. It's you. This particular one here, I think, speaks about that in many ways. And I'll tell you why. Because I noticed something in your tree drawings, your paintings, your illustrations that I have not heard you said, but I've noticed it. And I'll say this, the first one in terms of where the eyes are located, the second one in terms of where the head is located, and the third one where she has her chin up. You see, I peeped that. You see what I'm saying? Tell us about this particular one, Crystal.
This is, and I don't like to use the word survivor because it implies that you just got through something traumatic and you're there.
Right.
But there is something more
Mm-hmm.
to just surviving the trauma. You're
Mm-hmm.
thriving from it, you're learning from it, you're improving from it, you're a better person in spite of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a level of introspection, continuous improvement. This is a person who has been through and is coming out the other end a braver person, a more introspective person, someone who doesn't take shit. I don't know if it's okay to say that, but sorry, that's sake.
No, that's all
That
right. That's
this
all right.
is
You said already.
this is not a person to be played with, and this is a person of
The
integrity.
warrior, the warrior, the
This is a
warrior,
warrior.
warrior lioness. Yeah, I look, sis. I love this. I mean, the three of them
This
combining,
this is who
amazing.
we are aspiring to be, because I am tired of hearing that Bajans don't do nothing, Bajans are cowards. I saw the article where Caswell Franklin today called Bajans cowards, and I have at least 1,500 Bajans who are not cowards, who are willing to put
Facts,
their names
facts,
on a petition that the prime
facts,
minister could see their name,
facts.
and they decided to still put their name on there anyhow. And we have to stop calling ourselves these things, because words have an impact, and our
Serious.
psyche picks it up and starts to believe it. Our children need to see that we are not cowards.
Teach, 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 teach,
We need to stop calling ourselves these derogatory things because we are believing it.
teach, man, sis. Teach.
And if Caswell thinks Barbadians are cowards, he should make sure that he encourages people as opposed to bringing them down. That
Listen.
is my opinion.
Wow, listen, you know what? You've done more than Cal as well. You actually came on politically incorrect. He's been off of tour. but he was busy. That's all it was. It just, he was busy, busy.
That's all right. He does not have to come on to the show. He has
No, no,
his own
that's all
way
right.
of he has his own way of doing things, and
He
there are a
was
lot of
busy,
things he's done that I've respected, but I do find
and I agree.
there
I agree.
when there are things he does that I don't agree, I'm gonna say don't agree, and I don't agree with
Really,
calling. I am tired of people calling Bejas cowards. I'm not saying that we don't have cowards, but to whitewash every Bajan as a coward, I think is that is why we keep
I
believing this
agree. I
narrative. We
agree.
keep believing this narrative. I keep hearing Bajans say, I am tired of Bajans telling me that I'm brave. To be very honest, because it gives the impression that to do the right thing,
Hmm.
and I am not here flustering up, I'm not here throwing stones at Parliament. I am literally asking for us to have the respect that is due to us and have
Hmm.
an answer to how our money is funded. I have put out a petition. It is probably the least, a combative form of
Hmm.
agitation.
Hmm.
And I have asked Barbadians to support me, and they have. And we have given a petition to request that our right to information and to answers and to understanding is heard. That is
Hmm.
not brave. That is us just doing what we
That is
should be
right.
doing as citizens.
What's
And
right. I agree.
if you keep seeing it as brave, you're going to see it as something beyond your capacity to do.
Teach, man. Teach, man. Teach.
It isn't beyond your capacity to stand up and say the right thing. You're
That's
not
right.
saying something that is wrong, or this is why I keep telling people be very careful in how you word things, because when you run with assumptions, that's when people can cut you down. But as long as you are confident in what you are saying and you know you're speaking based on facts, why are you afraid?
Teach, man. Teach. I love it. I love it.
What are
Nothing
we
to
teaching
politically
our
incorrect.
children when we say things like this is brave? This is bare minimum. This is
It is
bare minimum. There are
serious.
countries out there that are marching and protesting for weeks on end until they get answers.
Serious.
There are people who are calling their constitutional representatives, their parliamentary representatives, their politicians, and making them miserable until they get answers. There are
Serious.
persons who are barricading themselves in front of government houses, and we are calling a petition brave.
Serious. I like it though. And the two, and you know what? If for no other reason, if for no other reason, again, because it's all about taxation from the sewage foolishness to the
Yeah.
all the other crap they have you supposed to ask questions though.
Yes.
And
It
as
is
far as
not
race, you
supposed to be an
supposed to
anomaly. You're supposed to
no,
only when they
no.
come around for your vote are you supposed to be able to talk to a politician? Why is it so shocking to talk to a politician outside of when they're asking for your vote?
As a matter of fact, since you mentioned vote, I wasn't going to do this, but I have to do this. She did an interview yesterday with Marsha Cattle. Yeah, you
Mhm.
can talk your business. And I think y'all should go on her page. It's actually on her personal
Yeah.
Facebook page. By the way, I put the link to those images up on the comments as well. You go check them out. And before you give us the price now, let me just say this: go check her page out. There's an interview yesterday with Marsha Cattle. It's worth a listen. And I listened to it. Shout out to Marsha Cattle, by the way. And Marsh, you know why I just said that. You know why. We go too far back. As a matter of fact, one of the very few people who looked out for Biap in the initial stages when we were putting in work as a youth program in Barbados and trying to make stuff happen when she used to work for the UNDP is Marsha Cattle. So I would always salute her for that. I ain't forget that. And she's always spoken to some degree what she could and she does what she can. Having said that, she dropped a gem though. She dropped a serious gem when she spoke about democracy. I know you were paying attention, Crystal, when she spoke about what democracy really means
Hmm.
and how important is it in the bigger scheme of things when it comes to your vote.
Yeah.
Now I won't even speak on it directly. If you want to see it, go watch the interview because I think, like I said, she said a few things, dropped a few gems. And this is what I'm
Yeah.
gonna say what I'm gonna say next. Remember, it was God who hardened Pharaoh's heart. We have no idea why people are in the position they're in. We don't have to like it. We do not. And that's fine. I don't have no problem with that. We could sit here and we could point out all day wrongs all day long,
Hmm.
remembering that we have our issues too. What I will not do, however, is miss when the Spirit speaks through people. Like last night on the Zoom meeting I was on, and I had to mention that as a plug-in. I just being facetious, really. I'm being dangerous right there. Right? Anyhow, who know? But when she spoke about democracy that you just said about your vote, Crystal, let me tell you something. There's no doubt in my mind that this little rock we call BIM, is going to shine internationally in the not so distant future. And it will not be because of some political decision being made, but rather the people of this nation, the indigenous beings of this nation, the sleeping giants of this nation start to resurrect and become aware and see the light. And I see it already because it's happening on all levels, all over. People is like, well, wait. And you're seeing it. So I feel honored and thankful for you being here. And before you go though, before we wrap this up, the combination of the three, is it a set you sell or is it individually?
It's gonna have to be individually because the last one is not for sale. My
Uh,
baba is adamant that that will not be for sale, and I will respect that.
by the way, shout out to Baba. You know who you are. We leave it at that. You know what I mean? Who don't know, who don't know, don't know. Straight enough. Ashe, Rastafari. Right. Give us a price on this painting that you have, or the two that's for sale.
Okay, the 24 by 30 is $2,400, and the 18 by 24 is 1,400.
Which is the young lady and the elder lady,
Yeah,
respectively. Yeah?
the elder lady is the one that's the smaller size,
Yeah. Yeah.
but just for context, it is almost as big as me.
As you.
I'm a small person to begin with, so let's start there. But
Man, there
I
we
can
go.
hide. I can literally hide behind the piece.
Really?
Yeah.
I honestly feel as if that should be valued more, man. Like the message that comes, the message that speaks out. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Without question, your work is an encyclopedia, sis. You know, keep that up. Keep speaking through your paint, your art, and express the message for others and for generations to come. Because others want to see that and speak about that one day. What did she mean when she did this? You know, in some literature class somewhere. You know, we should always honor our own. That should be in some museum in Barbados, along with some other fine works by a lot of good people. Like Art in Motion. We have a brother on here called Art in Motion. You gotta link up with Art in Motion. When you go through the comments, look for his name and click on it and shout that brother out. Art in Motion. You gotta see his paintings. The brother is no joke. You gotta check it out. So connecting people all the way, man. But sis, before you go, what time is it? Hour and a half. We work with that. Give us some parting words of encouragement and some ideas as to how we can agitate this thing on different levels again to bring awareness. Because, like I said, family, go share this. Even after you watch this tonight, go rewatch it, go share it again. If you're new on here tonight, like, subscribe, click notification bell. And the only reason I'm saying is because some folks do forget while they're engrossed. One, they told me, Emmanuel, I know you say go and share, right? But I don't want to leave. I don't want to miss nothing you say. You be so funny. I be thinking, funny? I don't be telling the jokes, but I be here serious as a judge. It might sound funny. I might crack a smile, but ain't nothing funny. I bet that. So just like, subscribe, get notifications so they don't block you because they've been blocking some folks lately. I see it myself. But we gonna do what we gotta do. But tell us, Crystal, before you do your magic and disappear.
I
Give us
just
some
want
inspiration.
I want persons to understand you do not have to be a particular thing to make a difference. Before I started to speak out, no one ever thought auditors would be able to add value to the
Mhm,
conversation outside of the finance circle.
mhm,
No one thinks an artist would be able to add value to the conversation.
mhm,
But use what talent you have
mhm.
in a way that can bless this world.
Wonderful.
And do not look to be like someone else because that person has been given a gift that is unique to them.
Mhm,
Use the gift that you have, every person on this earth, I believe, has a God-given gift that is just waiting to be realized if they can just recognize in themselves that they have that power, that ability
mhm,
to be and to give back to this world. You are
mhm,
not obligated in any way to give back, But if you believe that this world needs to be better, you have to figure out what your role in making it better
Yeah.
is
All
in
right.
whatever way you can do that.
Blessings. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Somebody's asking a question here to you if you're part of an integrity group.
I was part of Integrity Group Barbados, but now I assist them where I can
Mhm.
because there were too many conflicting priorities, and I want to make sure that I can give of my best in terms of making sure the organization is to a certain level.
Mhm.
And that does not mean I would abandon them, because I do think
Mhm.
that their leader is a man of great integrity.
Mhm.
But I
Wow.
will leave it at that.
I like it. You like, you fit right in at home here, That's me, Sometimes I cut it short, like, but I gonna leave it at that. I ain't gonna say no more, but pick sense from nonsense. I mean, I support anybody doing the right thing, going the right direction.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I agree with everything you're doing.
I
Yeah, I'm
support their
good.
leader 100%, though.
Wonderful. I got
He's
you. I
an
got you.
excellent man.
Well, you know what? I am thankful. I am honored. We have been enlightened, and you are more than welcome to come on here anytime you want to spot this show. Yo, Emmanuel, yeah, I'm gonna need a little night though. Listen, you want the all night? I would just resign and go and watch on my tablet too. That is no problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, you host politically incorrect. Maybe we might need to do that one of these nights though. Do a little something a little different because, like I said, this is not
I
about
actually
me.
I actually did that with Adrian Green and Beijing Farai when they had boiling room.
Oh
Boiling
yeah, I
room.
know the boiler. Shout out to the boiling room, by the way, Bajan far right, and definitely shout out to Adrian Green without
Yeah, they
question.
had me co-hosting for a little bit and embraced
Wait,
me.
wait,
Yeah,
wait,
Beijing
wait,
Farai
wait.
and Adrian Green was my peoples.
I remember the boiler room though. They had us on there at night. Shout out to La Mama, by the way, without question, the elder, be out all the way. It's always good when we could have this kind of forum because normally everything has to be so tight up and
Yeah.
you got to all that other stuff. Nah, we, you got a
Yeah.
whole family here now, man. Show you out. Go through the comments when you get a chance and do your thing. And like I said, it's about connecting and building that strength. You are not alone, sis.
I,
You
I
know,
appreciate that, because it is very difficult sometimes managing everyone's expectations and still
Mhm.
staying true to myself. But as my elders have said, as long as I could put my head down at night and know that I did my best,
Right.
that is the hardest part. Go forward and be brave.
Well. Listen, man. You know what? Um, a warrior is a warrior. Period. We do this because it's a duty, not because it's a job. Like you said,
Yeah.
it's not about, yeah, well, I'm being brave or I am being brave. People tell me the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
thing
you
too.
just do it.
You're
You're
not
just
afraid
doing
that
it.
they're gonna come at you. You're not afraid that and
I
this.
tired of people asking me if I ain't
Listen,
afraid, I ain't afraid, I ain't afraid.
and the quickest thing they could do, right, is try to put dirt on your name. But I told someone, don't even study them things because the reality is they gotta do what they gotta. I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you what's his name? Kenneth, whatever his name is. I don't remember his name. Kenneth, something, the guy in charge of Ministry of Health. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Kenneth
Okay.
George.
Yeah.
I happened to stumble across. I actually stumbled into this man office the other day. I told it, literally stumbled. Like, wait, but hold on a minute. Maybe you can ask this guy a question. I just went to ask a question, end up in the man office here. Like, you can make this up. That was quite an end because I mean, George, if you're watching, I ain't out you right, but the reality is he recognized the Rasta man. Cause he laughed, he chuckled, he chuckled. Then he said to me, I have my job to do, and you have your job to do. I respect that though. I respect it because the reality is a lot of them sometimes join politics or get involved in politics with good intentions and realize that the first rule in dealing with the devil is don't. And not everybody have the fortitude or the testicular built to pull away from that. So we get it. But like you
Mhm.
said, man, we gotta do what we gotta do for generations to come. And Bertram, I think you had a question before you go, Crystal. He asked a question about the teachers on the contract. Let me just speak on that real quick.
Mhm.
The one of the prime, and again, they have not said this. So if I'm incorrect, which I am incorrect, you get it now? I be having fun here, man. If I'm incorrect, correct me. One of the primary reasons why they're going to make teachers sign contracts now is because they plan on privatizing the educational industry. Trust me on this. They just plan to privatize this thing. And in so doing, then teachers that are not qualified enough here, they're going to bring people in, like the nurses. But nurses can't just come and work under the union. They got to come with a contract. See, the contract is the con trap. Don't get tied up with it. So if you're a teacher right now and you're watching this and they pushing contract at you, the truth is they don't really want you there, you know. That's just to make sure that you get so frustrated and you leave when they get so short staffed that they claim we're gonna have to bring in teachers, you know, because after all, we don't have enough. Especially the ones that you know how the story go. So don't get tied with this thing. And as far as the teacher, this in Vincent, by the way, let me just say this second last thing for now. If you are a teacher in St. Vincent, Yarmin, and the fella, the gentleman, prime servant, decide he wants to take you back and hire you back, listen to me carefully. Do not accept that job unless he's going to compensate you for wrongful dismissal. Because if they're going to take you back on the job you was relieved from in the first place, and now you're being reinstated, it means that you were wrongfully dismissed. They have to pay you your full salary that you miss every single day. And secondly, compensate you for the stress of being home and no money to pay your bills. If they ain't talking that language or your union rep ain't talking that language, holler at me, Manuel Barelia. Matter of fact, let me put the number up for those who want.
Think we lost Emmanuel there.
So I reappear. You see how that go?
I
Technology, right? Now it's
know, right? You
look,
didn't go
sometimes
along.
look, there's risk at me. When I first started this will catch me off guard and have me here fumbling, not know what to do. I is a boss at this thing now, man. You can boss. While they hacking me, I be hacking them. I be doing my own work. Don't make that kind of sport. But the reality is, family, you got to learn this thing because it ain't no game, man. It ain't no game. Politically Incorrect is on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all already know. If you want to contribute to the platform to make it happen, yeah, you got bills to pay. The PayPal account is eBarilia@gmail.com. Don't make that kind of sport. It ain't for free. The bills got paid. That light don't work off of solar. And furthermore, if you want to send us an email address or some letter or some information, politically.n.correct246 at gmail. If you want to call us, WhatsApp area code 246-838-8253. That's it there in a nutshell. Go on clear. Chrissy, I call you Chrissy. Crystal, I want to thank you again, person. I want to thank you for coming in. You're welcome here anytime. You are officially La Familia without question. Yeah, shout out to the elder. And let's see this thing through. I posted the document that you would have submitted before, but I think that's already been submitted. So let's wait for the response now and failing to get that, plan B,
Yeah.
phase two. So yes, family, you heard it here live direct. We want to thank you for coming through again. And family, y'all know how we do with the love, man. Just send nothing but kinetic energy, strength, guidance, protection. Send it all in the direction of the young lady who have personally stepped up to the plate and became what she was looking for. I love that, man. I love that. Thanks again, Crystal.
So welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
The honor was ours.
Bye,
Yeah,
everybody.
that little silence there, boy. That's catchy. All right. So you hold tight for a second. Be right back. Cheese on bread. Look how they're going to transform the thing, Chris. You, like, you got the horse to show down and close out. You know what I mean? It looks so. It looks so. You can handle that one. Okay, I coming back, man. I hear.
Okay.
You ready? Though? Go ahead, man. Hold on, wait, hold on. I'm gonna put up a tune. I got a tune to play. We used to play this back when we first started out. It's
Mm.
called "Move Them" by Bugle
Uh-huh.
and Jillian Marley, and I like it for a number of reasons. Once you listen to the words when it starts, you will hear why I like it
Mm.
personally. But I always like to close it with a little tune, just for the good vibes, man. And some folks stay for it, some folks like no log out, but it's all love. So you want to close us out, you can go ahead and drop a word, and why not? Why not? Go ahead and say something nice to people on the way out, man.
I don't know the song.
Wait. Hold on. Then. Let me go ahead then and let me put it up, man. Let me just put it up full screen. But if you don't know this song, listen, family, y'all might remember this tune from when we first started coming on. When we first
Oh,
started up on Politically Incorrect. This is one. We have a few anthems, about 3 or 4. We would have played a lot. This was one of them. One of them. The people then. This for the people then that know that in the struggle, man. This for the people. Y'all already know, man. There's always a message in the music. I keep telling people, I know you don't like reggae and this. Forget that. Listen to the message. There's a message. Always a message. Politically Incorrect, man. Song called Move Them. Move Them. Read between the lines, man. Move them. And I ain't talking DLP. Them got move already. I said that out loud. Oh man. You like to laugh. We are unruly. Politically Incorrect, family. Politically Incorrect.
Maybe this is politically incorrect. Don't tell it on the internet. You don't think that an internet must be afraid to interject about us getting money. Cause we are clapping. Save yourself in embarrassment and get out of the way. Our minds
Yes, our minds made up, family. Same old story, family. Same old story. What they say? They gonna look into it. Move them, family. Time to stand up, Barbados. Time to stand up, Barbados. That's right. Rebel season, family. Fighting for freedom. For our nation. For the whole nation, family. All the ghetto youth, family. Repatriation. Consciously, family. Then psychological warfare receiving some souls. Pull it, Jackie. Stop playing, Jackie. Stop playing, man. Stop playing, Jackie. Stop playing, Jackie. So pull it, man. See why it's can't left here now? You see what they don't look? I don't know if it's me. They don't want me to go home or what the story is. It's like, I don't know, man. Politically incorrect, family. This is how we doing this thing, family. This is how we doing this thing, family. Y'all already know, man. It's all love, family. It's all love. Shout out to all the policemen that put in real work, man. Real work, man. All the public servants put in real work. Put in all the true work, doing what you're supposed to do, building the nation. See all the women that sabotaging each other and parties. They just run tonight, catch it, man. They just run tonight, catch it. They just run tonight, catch it. You see, it's starting to set.
Maybe this is politically incorrect. Don't tell it on the internet. You don't think that an internet must be afraid to interject about us getting money. Cause we are clapping.
Yes, family, give thanks to everyone that came in and came through. Blessings to you and the family. Yes. Same old story, family. Same old story. We the government. We don't teach.
Now I'm on say move them. Out them a leader.
Shout out to Dorval Ennis, man. Shout out to Dorval.
And I'm fighting for freedom.
Hold firm, man.
For our nation, yeah. All ghetto youths now.
Seize on bed, family. Let me put the link up. Y'all go watch the rest of the video, man.
Psychological warfare receiving some souls. Robbing from the people that are living so poor.
Yes.
The world is going on, so we can't take it no more. Run is we kicking your front door.
Yes, family.
about them just got blacks and all got for the ends.
Where's that?
Yeah, blacks, man.
My blacks around us.
Yeah, man. Police just got the police, man. For the ends. I don't know how it is.
No, man.
Police always got somebody for something, man. Always for something. Always. But who they supposed to go and arrest, they don't arrest. Yeah, he said it. You got billions of dollars missing, and the Attorney General and the Police Commissioner, not a word. Not even a question was made. What that money is, though.
Oh, yeah, them want inherit everything, and none of them know me. Them want to fight everything, and nothing them no see. Yeah, them
want to fight everything, but nothing them don't see.
All the things them used to hide from us eventually.
Attorney General resign, man. Attorney General Dale Marshall, resign, man. Resign, man. Got a word from you. Wilfred Abrams, national security. $1 billion. You don't think that's a security issue? Resign, man. Resign, man. As a matter of principle and integrity, man. The man is jokes, man. Yeah, he said it. Not all you want to block, man. Be safe, man. And why? Man, a general. Let me stop, man. Christy, I want to thank you, man, for coming in. I want to thank you for coming in again, Gary. Look, this is a party online, man. Thank you, family. It's nothing but love. Whole firm says, and keep doing the work. And furthermore, build your team, family. Somebody got to keep watch over these people, man. If not, keep it up, family. I salute you. We salute you. Yeah? Bless and love. Family, y'all have a great night. Stay firm, stay strong. Haile Selassie the First, Empress Reserve Menin, is one perfect balance, family. One perfect balance, man. Fighting for freedom for the nation. Look, for the children, man. For the children. For the children, man. See, John. For the children, family. We'll get tight with it. This ain't for us. This for the youth, man. It's all love, though.